Welcome back to the show, Reds. This is the Shankly Sessions, the Liverpool podcast we bring you each and every week as part of the upper tier offering. So if you could head over there, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification button, drop a like on the video. Also, put your comments in there. Let us know what you think. Let us know your feelings, how you feel about the videos. You know, we put these videos out there every week and stuff like that, but it's your feedback that's really, really important, and how you're feeling about these things as a Liverpool fan and stuff. So we said we'd jump on today and do a quick video. We're on a drive time home. Don't forget to join us later tonight at 8 o'clock. We got Pro Wrestling Weekly. We're going to be covering a lot of stuff on that tonight. Backlash preview, all that kind of good stuff. It's always a fun show. Great crack in the chat, all the rest of it and all that kind of stuff. But right now we're going to focus on, I think, two things at the moment. I think the announcement today that there isn't going to be a parade, I think, is a really, really good move. I think there's a little bit of toxicity there at the moment. I think there's a fractured fan base at the moment in terms of a number of issues, and I don't really think, if you look at the season as a whole, first of all, we don't give parades to managers leaving. That just shouldn't happen. For me, I think that's just silly. You're just arming rivals with crap to throw at you and stuff like that and all, you know. And where Liverpool is a great city, and no matter what we do a parade for, the streets would be full. You know, the atmosphere would be unbelievable. We seen it in the quad year when we fell short and we only won the 2 domestic cups and we had the parade, and we seen how difficult it was for the players to do that, and to go through that and all. And while it was a celebration and a party, you know, the deflation of missing out on the league so close, the sadness of missing out on the Champions League the way we did and all, and to have 2 domestic trophies just felt strange and felt weird. Although we can always rely on Liverpool and our fan base to turn out in the numbers, and we love a party and stuff like that. And you know, Liverpool as a city as well, they don't need a reason to party. It's a great city, always willing to get out there and party and stuff. But it's tough, you know, and I think it's the right decision. I think if you look at the season as a whole, I think the way we went out of the FA Cup, and there's key moments in this season that we will look back on that are really, really disappointed with Jurgen leaving. You know, our exit from the FA Cup to Man United was really, really disappointing. The capitulation against Atalanta at Anfield, really, really disappointing. Really cost us our Europa League spot, a trophy we were expected to win. We were the favourites for it, and the FA Cup to some respects. And then the way we've kind of just melted away from the title race. Now, some people would say, well, maybe at the start of the year with a midfield rebuild and the players that left and the players that came in, there was going to be a settling in period, and you know, top 4 was always to get back into the Champions League, because we had fallen out after last season with a poor form and ended up in the Europa League. And Thursday night football is just a troll. And yeah, you can make that argument, but when you're there, you assess your expectation as you go along in the season. And when you're in the height of a title race and you're there or thereabouts, you're also pushing hard for an FA Cup, and you also have a reasonable draw in the Europa League, your expectation changes. And we fell really short on that expectation. And because we fell so short on it, the announcement a few weeks ago about having a parade and stuff like that and all, and I think when we see what went on Saturday at the West Ham game, there's a disconnect there, not only between Klopp and the players, but there's a disconnect there at the moment, even within the player groups. You can see it, and you can see Virgil talking about players having to look in the mirror. You can see Robbo talking about how the front line must do much better. There's a lot of shade being thrown around back and forward and all that kind of stuff, which means you have a group there that's quite fractured. And of course, the documentary's going on at the moment, and that's going to be very interesting to see what comes out of that documentary, what it presents, how it looks. You know, they don't always come out looking great, and of all the ways for a season end and Klopp to go off in a documentary, this is the season where it happens, you know. So I think the idea of not doing the parade, I think it's a really, really good move. I think it would have just kind of thrown shade on a lot of stuff. I think within the group itself, I think it would have been a little bit fake. I don't think that togetherness that's been there before is kind of still there. I think it's missing. There's a lot of people, because of what's gone on this season, looking around the room, looking to blame other people and all that kind of stuff. And I just think now is not the time for it. I think later on, if you want to put a plaque up for Klopp, or you want to do a statue, or you want to do something, or you want to mark his error in whatever way you want to mark it, I think that's something for the future. Parade is not that kind of thing to do, you know. That's how I feel about it anyway. But again, let us know your thoughts in the comments. Should there be a parade? Should we have a parade for Klopp leaving? I just think to me it's just absolute nonsense. And I like a party as much as anyone. In relation to Mo Salah, we've had a lot of mudslinging within the fan base over the last week. You know, if you want Mo gone, you're not a real fan. If you want Mo to stay, you're not a real fan. Whatever being a real fan means, I'm not too sure on that count. It's kind of, for me, a weird statement. A real fan. You're the fan of Liverpool Football Club, or you're not. But it's kind of weird at the moment, and a lot of stuff has to be assessed in this, because there's no right or wrong answer, and there's no right or wrong opinion. You know, and some people will turn around and go, oh, he has to stay, and, you know, if we're selling Mo Salah, it's the wrong move. And a lot of this stuff is exasperated in relation to, okay, we've had a drop off of Luis Diaz, huge questions over Darwin Núñez, and there's a lot of questions over that whole front line. You know, Diogo Jota, can he stay fit? Is Cody Gakpo the player that we thought he was? Can Harvey Elliott become that player that we want him to be? So many questions over all these players this season. And we've really, really struggled as a group and as a team. There's been a massive drop-off. So I kind of felt in the way Mo was being handled, especially in that West Ham game, I felt like he was kind of being a little bit scapegoated. And that's just a personal feeling I got from it. And I could understand why it blew up. And like I said the other day on the video, the reaction and all, I don't know what was said. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on in the inner workings of the club. You know, I don't know. Did Mo come back from an injury too early? Is he playing with an injury? He doesn't seem to look like the same Mo Salah. He's not smiling. He's not happy. His body language kind of stinks. His ball play on the pitch at the moment, since he's come back after that injury from the AFCON, basically since January, if you like, has been kind of poor. He just looks uninterested. He looks checked out. But now a lot of players look that way. It's not just Mo Salah. So is it the announcement from Klopp that Klopp is leaving? Are players disappointed that they signed up for the Klopp project? You've heard some of the newer signings turn around and going, you know, we signed up here because we thought you were going to be here, and now you're going. And we've heard soundings of that from Dominic. We've heard soundings of that from McAllister. We've heard soundings of that from Darwin. You know, so there's a lot going on at the club as well. And then you have Michael Edwards coming back in, and everyone believes Michael Edwards is the Messiah. He's the guy who gave us Mane and Bobby and all these players and all, and put that great team together and stuff like that. So in Michael Edwards we trust. So if that is the case, then the uncomfortable conversation comes next, and that uncomfortable conversation is about Mo Salah. And I'm a Liverpool fan, and I only want what's best for the club. So if Mo Salah is saying that the club is what's best for the club, I'm on board. If Mo Salah getting sold is what's best for the club, I'm on board. But I think there's quite a debate to be had in terms of the different parameters and effects of this kind of thing and stuff like that. Last week we had manager gay, Amran going to West Ham, all this other shit that was flying and everything and all. We had a really poor showing in the derby. We had a really poor showing against West Ham. It was just a crappy week all round. And I think, you know, that took over, and emotion took over, and you've seen that emotion spilling over with Mo, and spilling over with Jurgen, and spilling over with other players as well, and their comments afterwards and all that kind of stuff. But I think in relation, if we look in isolation, Mo Salah, and it's hard to look at it in isolation as well, because there's been such a drop off all around in the team. So this is not a Mo Salah thing. But if we look at Mo Salah, because he's the hot topic at the moment, and I think this is a conversation that we don't want to have. I think it's an uncomfortable conversation. I think with Jurgen going, The thoughts of him and Mo Salah exiting the building in a clean sweep, if you like, I think it's hard for fans to palate. And I mean, if you look at my studio room where I do the podcast and stuff like that, there's so much Mo Salah stuff around that room. My son Ben, his room is full of Mo Salah stuff. He's obsessed with him and stuff like that. And that's going to be hard to take. But that day does come. That day came for me with so many players. I've been following Liverpool now since about 1977. And I've seen so many great players leave. Phil Thompson, Phil Neal, Rush, Barnes, Gobler, Ray Clements, Fowler, who I loved, Carragher, Stevie, we've seen Alonso leave. We've seen so many great players leave, and we've had to move on from it, And this is another one as well where, we'll never forget. Mo Salah is enshrined in Liverpool legendary history and status for what he brought us. He's been exceptional, and it's a two-way street as well, and that's what we can't forget as well. Mo Salah has been unbelievable for us, but Liverpool Football Club has been unbelievable for Mo Salah as well. So it's a partnership thing, and especially with Jurgen Klopp as that focal point in the middle. And he's given us so many brilliant moments, so many unforgettable moments that we will never forget. And when we talk about plaques and statues, we talk about Mo Salah, don't we, as well? And that's why this conversation is so uncomfortable, and it's getting in on the fan base, because the fan base is at each other's throats about it now. Because if you go out there and say you should sell Mo Salah, it's wah, and if you go out there and say you should keep Mo Salah, it's wah. So the question is, with a new manager coming in, we know Mo Salah's entering into the last year of his contract. There's talk and soundings out of the club coming that, he wants an extension, and do we want to extend it and all that kind of stuff. Is that in the best interest of the new manager coming in? And what is the best interest of the new manager coming in? What does the new manager need to come in? Some people might say that it might be better that, some of that remnants of the Klopp era goes with him. Some people will say, no, Mo Salah is fundamental to what Liverpool do. This year he's 33 or whatever it is. Next year he'll be 34. When does he go? Do we let him go when he's 40? Like, when do we eventually make that decision? And a lot of that decision comes with a kind of a sensitivity to it as well, because it's who comes in, who replaces Mo Salah. And I've said it before, you don't replace a player like Mo Salah. You just go maybe in a slightly different direction. You don't replace a manager like Jurgen Klopp. We never replaced Bill Shankly. We never replaced Bob Paisley. We never replaced Joe Fagan. We never replaced Kenny Dalglish. We just always dusted ourselves down and went off in a different direction that we hoped would bring success. And I just think we need to think about that as well. You hear people talking about Mo Salah's been the most consistent player for us over the last 7 years or whatever it is. Absolutely true, no doubt about it. It's not a debatable point and stuff like that. But we can't act like if Mo Salah left and we sold him, that money isn't going to be spent the right way. Especially now with Michael Edwards back in place. And if our trust is in Michael Edwards, then our trust should be in that money being spent the right way. That's a key point. It's a key point. Do we believe that Mo Salah really wants to re-sign and be at Liverpool when generational wealth is on offer in Saudi Arabia? Does Saudi Arabia look as attractive as it did, with all the soundings coming out of it, Jordan coming back and all that kind of stuff, and stories coming out that they're playing football in front of 700 people and it's not what they thought it was going to be, and all this kind of thing? Is it a huge upheaval for a guy like Mo Salah, whose culture is kind of enshrined in there already, kind of thing? And can he afford to walk away from that offer of generational wealth? Can Liverpool Football Club afford to walk away from a potential offer of 120, 150 million, whatever the offer is going to be? How many times can we turn down Saudi Arabia for a player who's 33, who we have to say, although he's our best player and although he's been Mr. Consistent, has also somewhat digressed. And that's not a debatable point either. We've seen it. Now, is that digression based on injuries? Is that digression based on age? Is that digression based on Klopp exiting the building? Is that digression based on players being brought in that maybe didn't hit what we thought they would? Luis Diaz, Cody Gakpo, Darwin Núñez. Did the fit just not work? The change to Mo Salah as well, where he's out much wider compared to the way it used to be, more compact with the three boys up front, Mane and Bobby Firmino. There's a lot of different factors in there, you know. Is it better for Arne Slot to be armed with 150 million or 120 million if Mo Salah gets sold, to go out there and buy players in the kind of vein that he wants, along with Michael Edwards and Richard Hughes and everyone else at the club? Where we're going to go, what's his kind of strategy and coaching, how he wants to play, does it end up in a situation next season where Mo stays, but he kind of didn't really want to stay, and but he stayed? Do you get that feeling this year that he would have been happier to have left last summer than to have stayed? Is that part of his frustration? We can't have that conversation anymore about whether Mo is motivated by money or not, because we know that money was a motivational factor in the last contract. Again, not a debatable point. So where do you guys lie? Where do you guys lie on this Mo Salah debate? Is it time for a changing of the guard more than just the manager? Obviously, the difficulty in that situation as well is we know Luis Diaz may have designs on going to Spain. Certainly it's been out there from his dad. There's also soundings that Darwin may move on. So is that a very dangerous game we're playing, that we're then left with Jota, Cody and Mo if Mo stays? Can Liverpool go into a rebuild where they can rebuild that whole front line the way they rebuilt that midfield? Massive task for Michael Edwards and Richard Hughes coming up this summer. New manager coming in, trying to set back in those background kind of standards that we lost when Michael left. And how does that all work? Is it conceivable that you can swap out a front line to that level and not expect a drop off, or not expect, that synergy that we've been so used to? Do we play in a different way? A lot of people have been talking about formations where we have one up front and Mo Salah plays as that man up front with three in behind, and different formations and stuff like that. Other key areas have to be looked at. Endo as the DM, McAllister can't be that guy. He can't be that fill-in guy. We can't destroy the team of that creativity that McAllister brings by dropping him in the 6. We need to go get a 6. Endo needs to be the guy that's the backup to that 6 if he decides he wants to stay. We certainly need a central defender in, preferably left-sided. So do we go look at Sporting? We had our designs on players like Ignacio and the boy up front, the striker for Sporting, when we were discussing Amarin. Do we still pursue those players and try and get them? Is that a feasible thing to do with what happened with Amarin? There's so many questions out there, and there's so many layers to the onion of whether Mo Salah should go or stay. And there's no easy answer for us as Reds. And I think where we have faltered somewhat over the last number of years is we've got very, very, very attached to certain players within the squad, and also to Jurgen, and it just happens. And sometimes that sentiment has clouded what we really want for our club, for Liverpool Football Club, and that's where it's become fractured. And because I've followed Liverpool Football Club now for 45 years at this stage, I've seen great managers come and go. I've seen lots of great players come and go. I've seen great teams. I've seen poor teams. I've seen average teams. I've lived in the shadow of Man United we've lived in the shadow of Man City. And this is now a poignant moment for Liverpool Football Club. We're on the cusp of something that could end up being great. And I don't want it to get overshadowed, you know, by a decision as monumental as this. You know? And that's something that we have to figure out. But it's something that if it's triggered, like the talk at the moment about the contract renewal, is that only a talk going out there in the ether to protect the value of Mo Salah if a Saudi deal comes in? We know how games are played, especially at board level. If Mo Salah was sold, would all that money go into the coffers of Michael Edwards? Or would we see a streaming of that money going to NBA projects and PGA golf projects and various other things that FSG are involved in? Would there be guarantees there that if Mo was sold, that money would find its way into the squad in the way we would want it to? And then the fundamental question comes out about who do we go for? We know that the market for forwards at the moment is really, really tough. So who do we bring in? Is it better to stick with Mo because there's just simply not the market out there for who you want to bring in? Change isn't always bad. Change sometimes can be good. There's no doubt Jurgen had ran his course at Liverpool. It was time to go. Some would argue maybe it could have been last summer, who knows, after the season that we had. Again, we'll always love him. We'll always thank him for everything he did for the club. He's an absolute legend at the club. But everything moves on in time. We've seen it with Coutinho. If we held back on the Coutinho conversation and we got in, remember, just before that bubble burst at Barcelona, that bubble had a burst, we would have never got that deal. That deal led to us bringing in arguably the best goalkeeper in the world, and arguably over the last 5-6 years or whatever it is, the best centre back in the world. Even longer. So my question to you guys in the comments, and let me know. This is not about whether I'm a Liverpool fan or you're a Liverpool fan around this. This is a fundamental question. If we were to sell Mo Salah and get 150 million, just for argument's sake, and that 150 million was reinvested in two players at 75 million each, for argument's sake, and if we were looking for a DM and we're looking for a forward player or a centre back or whatever it is that comes in at that level, is it worth taking a punt on it when we see that the effect that Van Dijk and Alisson had when they came into the squad? That's the question that's posed to everyone that has to be answered. And again, you've got to answer it with your head and you've got to answer it with your heart, because there's a love there for the player, there's a love there for the club, and then there's a financial business decision that has to be made. But the fundamental point in the whole of this thing is change sometimes can be really, really good if handled the right way. And if we believe the second coming of Michael Edwards is key to the success at Liverpool, then we have to believe that whatever decisions are made and whatever funding is made available to him, be it from FSG, be it from the club, be it from the sale of players, we have to trust in that process that the right decisions will be made. You hear people today talking about how, well, if Michael Edwards had been there, Luis Diaz mightn't have been bought, Cody Gakpo mightn't have been bought, Darwin Núñez may have not been bought. But that's okay. That's okay, because a fractured relationship happened. He left the club, purchases were made, some will say they haven't worked out, and that's fine. So now it's time to correct some of that, maybe. And maybe in trying to correct that, maybe Mo Salah doesn't go. Maybe Mo Salah comes back next season with a point to prove, with Klopp gone, or whatever's gone on there, you know. when you hear things like, if I speak there will be fire, that sounds to me like there's fundamental issues there. That doesn't sound to me like two guys had a spat on the sideline. That sounds to me, looking at Mo Salah's form, that like there's been a problem. So we'll keep an eye. 3 games to go. Let's just get through these 3 games, Reds, and, you know, try and bury the toxicity and get on with doing what we need to do. Let's give the gaffer the send off as best as we can. It's going to be disappointing either way. Until next time, Reds, let us know your thoughts in the comments. Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification button, drop a like on the video, and we'll talk to you again real soon. Cheers.